They looted gold, jewels, and priceless art from across Europe. But decades later, much of it was never found, and the mystery of Nazi treasure still haunts history. If you value documented World War II history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. Now back to the story. Millions of lives were ruined, and fortunes vanished into shadows of secrecy. Across occupied Europe, Nazi forces orchestrated one of history's most extensive looting operations, stripping cities, towns, and households of gold, art, and priceless cultural artifacts. From Paris to Warsaw, Amsterdam to Prague, soldiers, bureaucrats, and collaborators meticulously confiscated valuables, cataloging some while others disappeared into hidden caches. For the audience, suspense is immediate. How could such immense treasures vanish? And what mechanisms enabled this organized plunder? The process began with careful inventories. Museums were emptied of masterpieces, banks stripped of gold reserves, and private homes ransacked under the guise of occupation authority. Artworks, jewelry, coins, and religious relics were crated, labeled, and sent to storage depots or centralized collection points. Occasionally, items were stolen for the personal enrichment of high-ranking officers, demonstrating the intersection of bureaucratic control and opportunistic greed. The audience is drawn into suspense as they imagine the scale of theft and the human impact of losing centuries-old treasures. Transportation of looted items required secrecy and precision. Specially organized convoys of trains and trucks carried crates across war-torn Europe. Guards accompanied the shipments, often armed SS personnel or loyal collaborators, ensuring that the cargo reached intended destinations. Routes were frequently changed to avoid allied forces or partisan attacks. In some cases, decoy shipments were used to mislead observers, creating layers of obfuscation. Suspense and engagement are maintained as viewers visualize secret movements, the risks involved, and the enormous scale of logistics necessary to move stolen wealth. Secrecy extended beyond transportation. Hidden vaults, abandoned castles, and underground bunkers became repositories for these treasures. Some of these locations remain undiscovered, feeding legends and speculation. Civilians occasionally observed unusual activity, but fear and coercion prevented interference. Each layer of concealment added to the mystery, compelling viewers to ponder what might still be hidden beneath Europe's soil. Emotional engagement grows as the audience contemplates both human ingenuity and the moral cost of plunder. The human dimension of this looting cannot be overstated. Families were dispossessed, communities destabilized, and cultural heritage threatened. Gold, art, and sacred artifacts carried not only monetary value but profound symbolic meaning, representing history, identity, and memory. For viewers, this elicits moral reflection, empathy, and emotional immersion into the consequences of theft. Ultimately, the plundering of Europe was more than theft. It was a demonstration of power, control, and ideological dominance. Each hidden vault, vanished shipment, and coded inventory contributes to a narrative of greed, secrecy, and historical consequence. Suspense, curiosity, and engagement are sustained as viewers follow the meticulous planning, daring operations, and the human and cultural cost of Nazi looting. The story leaves audiences both intellectually absorbed and emotionally connected to one of history's most audacious campaigns of theft. Beneath the iron rails and hidden vaults, fortunes waited in silence. The Nazis understood that seizing gold, art, and cultural treasures was only the first step. Moving and concealing these valuables required meticulous planning and unwavering secrecy. Convoys of trucks and trains wound through war-torn landscapes, carrying crates labeled only with codes, numbers, or vague descriptors. For the audience, suspense is immediate. Every shipment might vanish, be intercepted, or become the subject of decades-long mystery. Keeping curiosity alive and engagement high. Transportation followed a precise, yet covert, choreography. Special units ensured shipments avoided Allied reconnaissance and partisan activity. Routes were frequently altered, decoys deployed, and timing carefully calculated. Railcars carrying gold were often reinforced, while precious artworks were crated and wrapped under layers of protection. Hidden passages, side tracks, and remote depots were employed to ensure that treasure security, suspense, and historical immersion are maintained as viewers. Imagine the tension and ingenuity required for each clandestine operation. Security was elaborate. Guards, often armed SS personnel or loyal collaborators, accompanied high-value shipments. Checkpoints and temporary holding areas were established, and secrecy was maintained through both fear and strict discipline. Each warehouse, cellar, or hidden depot became a fortress of silent greed, holding treasures that might never be reclaimed. The audience experiences both suspense and emotional engagement, imagining the stakes and dangers faced by those transporting and guarding the loot. Deception played a crucial role. Routes were mapped to avoid conflict zones, inventories falsified, and some shipments deliberately mislabeled. Even senior officials sometimes lacked precise knowledge of where all valuables were hidden. This ambiguity created legends and fueled speculation, sustaining the audience's fascination. Suspense and curiosity are heightened as viewers consider which treasures were truly lost and which may still lie undiscovered. The human cost adds further depth. Civilians were displaced, lives disrupted, and centuries of cultural heritage threatened. Workers, drivers, and lower-level officials were often coerced into secrecy, facing punishment or death for any breach. Some exploited the chaos for personal gain, diverting valuables to secret caches. Emotional engagement grows as the audience reflects on human greed, fear, and moral compromise amidst the machinery of theft. Ultimately, the hidden logistics of Nazi looting illustrate the intersection of military precision, criminal ambition, and historical consequence. For viewers, suspense, curiosity, and emotional engagement are sustained through secret routes, guarded depots, coded shipments, and the enduring mystery of vanished wealth. Each detail, from reinforced railcars to hidden vaults, immerses the audience in a story of audacity, secrecy, and the moral and cultural cost of one of history's most extensive thefts. Hidden beneath the chaos of collapse, it disappeared without a trace. The so-called gold train has haunted historians, treasure hunters, and conspiracy theorists for decades. Allegedly loaded with looted gold, currency, and priceless artifacts from occupied Europe, the train's last documented movements were shrouded in secrecy and confusion as Nazi Germany teetered on the brink of defeat. For the audience, suspense is immediate. How could such a massive fortune vanish amid the final days of war? And who, if anyone, profited from it? Reports suggest the train departed from southern Poland, packed with crates of gold bars, jewelry, and other valuables intended for the Reich's coffers. Guards and SS officers ensured that every box was accounted for, yet uncertainty prevailed even among them. The advancing Soviet forces, relentless and omnipresent, forced hasty reroutes and secretive stashes. Some accounts claim the train entered hidden sidings, tunnels, or temporary depots, vanishing from official records and creating a mystery that has lingered for decades. Suspense and curiosity are heightened as viewers imagine these shadowy operations and the risks involved. Eyewitness testimonies added layers to the legend. Local villagers reported seeing unusual train movements late at night, heavily guarded and traveling through less conspicuous routes. Some claimed to glimpse glittering crates under tarpaulins or overhear whispered discussions about the precious cargo. Conflicting accounts fueled intrigue, and the lack of definitive evidence only deepened the mystery. The audience is drawn into suspense, balancing skepticism with fascination, and immersed in the thrill of unresolved history. The disappearance may have been a combination of deliberate concealment, wartime chaos, and opportunistic looting. Some historians suggest portions of the cargo were redirected to hidden vaults, melted down, or diverted for private gain by high-ranking officers. Others theorize that Allied or Soviet forces may have intercepted portions of the treasure without leaving full records. This ambiguity sustains suspense, compelling viewers to consider the possibilities of both discovery and permanent loss. Psychologically, the legend evokes awe, obsession, and relentless curiosity. Treasure hunters and historians invested years pursuing leads, navigating dangerous terrain, bureaucratic obstacles, and false trails. For the audience, this emotional engagement deepens as they imagine the human ambition, desperation, and ingenuity involved in these quests. Ultimately, the ghost train of gold represents the intersection of greed, secrecy, and chaos at the twilight of the Third Reich. For viewers, suspense, curiosity, and emotional investment are sustained through vivid depictions of hidden movements, guarded compartments, and elusive treasures. Every detail, the train's secret routes, hidden sidings, and legendary disappearance, invites reflection on human ambition, historical consequence, and enduring mystery. Paintings, jewels, and relics vanished, leaving historians puzzled for decades. Across Europe, Nazi forces meticulously plundered museums, galleries, private collections, and religious institutions, accumulating treasures of immense cultural and financial value. Masterpieces by renowned painters, centuries-old manuscripts, and sacred artifacts disappeared into hidden vaults or were packed onto freight trains bound for undisclosed locations. For the audience, curiosity and suspense are immediate. What became of these items, and how did so much vanish without a trace? The thefts were systematic. Artworks were cataloged by inventory numbers, crated with care, and transported under armed guard. Some pieces were sent to Germany's centralized repositories, while others were stored in remote castles, abandoned mines, or secret bunkers. Occasionally, high-ranking officers diverted valuable items for personal gain, further complicating records. Viewers are drawn into historical intrigue, imagining the hidden chambers, reinforced crates, and layers of secrecy surrounding each treasure. Rumors fueled decades of speculation. Locals reported glimpses of artwork being moved under the cover of night, while whispers circulated about entire shipments concealed beneath false floors or behind hidden walls. Some historians argue that many objects were intentionally misclassified, mislabeled, or misdirected to confuse Allied forces. Each lead, whether verified or anecdotal, added to the mystery, maintaining audience suspense and engagement. Attempts to recover these treasures met frequent failure. Allied forces, overwhelmed by the scale of plunder, could only secure a portion of what was stolen. Post-war investigations faced fragmented records, destroyed documents, and deliberate misinformation. Some items were recovered decades later, often in private collections or hidden caches, but countless others remain missing. For viewers, this evokes both fascination and frustration, highlighting the enduring human obsession with lost art and the moral weight of cultural theft. The psychological and cultural stakes were profound. Each stolen artifact represented more than wealth. It carried centuries of artistic, spiritual, and social heritage. Communities were left bereft of their cultural identity, and families lost irreplaceable heirlooms. The audience is emotionally engaged, contemplating the human cost of greed and the devastation of cultural memory. Ultimately, the story of stolen art and antiquities emphasizes the far-reaching consequences of human ambition and moral corruption. The blend of secrecy, loss, and unresolved mystery sustains suspense, intellectual curiosity, and emotional engagement. Viewers are immersed in a narrative that bridges past and present, connecting the historical thefts to the contemporary fascination with uncovering lost treasures, and highlighting the enduring power of legend, myth, and human curiosity. Despite modern technology, the secrets remained buried, tantalizing seekers of history. Decades after the war, the legend of Nazi-looted treasures continued to ignite curiosity, prompting archaeologists, historians, and treasure hunters to scour Europe for hidden caches of gold, art, and priceless artifacts. Each dig, each investigation, was a race against time and decay, balancing historical preservation with the thrill of discovery. For viewers, suspense is immediate. What lies beneath the earth, and will it ever be recovered? Modern searches relied on intelligence gathered from wartime records, eyewitness testimonies, and sporadic tips from locals. Documents captured at the end of the war revealed the routes and storage locations of looted wealth, though many details were deliberately obscured or lost. Researchers piece together fragments of information, analyzing maps, photographs, and coded transport lists. Every clue fueled curiosity and tension, as audiences imagine the painstaking detective work that could unlock centuries-old mysteries. Technological advances added a new dimension to these investigations. Ground-penetrating radar, magnetometers, and aerial surveys allowed experts to probe areas previously inaccessible. Excavation teams combed forests, tunnels, and abandoned bunkers, uncovering traces of crates, metal fragments, and hidden passageways. Yet, many searches ended in disappointment, revealing only partial evidence or false leads. This ongoing uncertainty maintained suspense and intrigue, keeping the audience engaged in the hunt for vanished treasures. Human ambition and risk played a significant role. Treasure hunters faced dangerous terrain, bureaucratic hurdles, and sometimes legal disputes over ownership. Scholars navigated ethical dilemmas, distinguishing historical research from opportunistic plundering. Each expedition revealed the tension between human curiosity, greed, and moral responsibility. Viewers are emotionally immersed, empathizing with the challenges of uncovering hidden history while reflecting on the moral stakes of such discoveries. The cultural and historical significance of potential finds amplified the intrigue. Unearthed artifacts could shed light on Nazi operations, reveal stolen cultural heritage, or restore lost symbols of European history. Every discovery, or lack thereof, shaped collective memory and influenced ongoing historical research. Audiences are drawn into intellectual engagement, contemplating both the historical context and the modern implications of these recovered, or still lost treasures. Ultimately, these excavations and discoveries illustrate a persistent human fascination with lost wealth, secrecy, and history. Suspense, curiosity, and engagement are sustained through detailed depictions of digs, technological methods, and the painstaking process of connecting fragmented evidence. For viewers, the story of lost Nazi treasures becomes not only a historical investigation, but a modern adventure, blending suspense, intellectual reflection, and emotional resonance, linking the past with the present in a narrative that captivates and educates. Some treasures remain hidden, yet their legend shapes imagination and history alike. The Nazi looted wealth, from gold and jewels to priceless artworks, left an indelible mark beyond its monetary value. These vanished fortunes have fascinated historians, treasure hunters, and storytellers, inspiring decades of research, speculation, and legend. For the audience, curiosity is immediate. How did these treasures vanish? And what lasting effects did their disappearance have on society, memory, and human psychology? The cultural impact of lost treasures is profound. Museums, archives, and publications have chronicled these thefts, framing them not only as acts of war, but also as crimes against heritage. Entire communities were stripped of cultural identity, leaving behind only echoes of what was lost. Artworks stolen from private homes or religious institutions became symbols of oppression, greed, and human vulnerability. Viewers are drawn into suspense and reflection, considering both the human cost and the mysteries that endure. Psychologically, the legend of lost treasures evokes obsession and fascination. Treasure hunters have pursued these relics for decades, driven by ambition, curiosity, and the hope of discovery. Scholars and historians have grappled with incomplete records, conflicting reports, and misinformation, fueling debate and speculation. For the audience, engagement is sustained through the tension between what is known, what is rumored, and what may never be uncovered. The emotional pull comes not only from the allure of wealth, but from the human stories entwined with these vanished treasures. Historically, the mystery has shaped research priorities and ethical discourse. Archaeologists, archivists, and governments weigh the significance of recovering treasures against the importance of preserving historical integrity. The narrative underscores the tension between curiosity and responsibility, highlighting how the pursuit of wealth intersects with the stewardship of cultural heritage. Viewers are intellectually engaged, imagining the challenges faced by those seeking to balance history, law, and moral obligation. The enduring legacy of these treasures also lies in imagination. Legends, myths, and popular culture have amplified the story of vanished wealth, embedding it in collective consciousness. Tales of hidden vaults, lost trains, and secret caches captivate both professionals and the public alike. Audiences remain engaged as they explore the interplay between reality and legend, recognizing the power of history to shape both fact and imagination. Ultimately, the lessons and legends of Nazi-looted treasures demonstrate the profound intersection of human ambition, historical consequence, and mystery. Suspense, curiosity, and emotional engagement are sustained as viewers consider not only what was taken, but how it continues to inspire fascination, moral reflection, and historical inquiry. Each lost artifact or hidden fortune serves as a reminder of the fragility of civilization, the allure of discovery, and the enduring power of history to captivate, educate, and provoke reflection long after the events themselves